In this video, we will look at the EV3 Intelligent Brick, its power, and cables. Please pause the video now and get out box 7 from the 7-box Lego storage system. Once you have that box out, restart the video for the discussion. So I have box number 7 in front of me, and the EV3 brick is in the top right corner in cubicle 713. The 7 is box 7, 1 stands for row, and the 3 is the cubicle number. So when I open this up, box 7, row 1, here's my first cubicle, my second cubicle, and then here's the brick over in the third cubicle. So I'm just going to get this out and put my box aside. The EV3 brick is the brains and the power center. Its processor runs the Linux operating system. It has memory to store programs just like a regular computer. And it can be connected to your computer using a USB cable or via Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi. Now let's take a look at all of its parts. On the top of the brick is an LCD screen. It's a raised rectangle about 2.5 inches wide by 2 inches tall. This is the brick display and interface. Across the top of the screen, it has an icon for the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connections, and then the brick name in the center and the battery level on the right. Now don't worry if you cannot see the screen. You have software that lets you know if the brick is connected and what its name is. And you also have a program that you can run that tells you the battery level, so you don't need to see it on this screen. Below that top line is the brick interface, and there are 4 basic screens that give you access to functions on the brick, including running programs, file navigation, brick applications, and settings. To find out more about each one of these screens and what you can do with them, read the Lego EV3 User Guide. In the center top, there are 5 buttons. 1 in the center, and then buttons on the left, top, right, and below that center button. These buttons can be used to navigate the brick interface, but we will also see how you can program the buttons to do different things. The center button is the OK button and also turns the brick on. You press it firmly and then let go. After about 20 or 30 seconds, you will hear the startup sound. I'll press it now, and then fast forward for the 20 or 30 second waiting time. And there's the startup sound. Now if you can see colors, you might have noticed that there are lights around the buttons, and they changed colors after the brick started up. When we pressed the button, the center button, to start the brick, the status lights were red. Now that the brick is ready, the lights are a steady green. When a program is running, the lights will flash green, and when the program finishes, the lights go back to steady green. You can read more about the lights in the Lego User Guide. There is one more button on the top of the brick, and it is located under the LCD screen on the left. This button is used to abort a running program and also to shut down the EV3 brick. If a program is running and you want to stop it for any reason, press this back button. And then to turn the brick off, press the back button until you see the power down screen. I'll do that now. When the power down screen comes up, the default choice is to cancel. So in order to power down, you press the right button, which moves it over to the check mark, and then you can press the center button and the brick will power down. If you cannot see the screen, you can usually power down the brick following some steps. Now these steps will only work if no one has been using the brick interface and been moving around through the screens. You need to have just been running programs on the brick, and then you can use these steps that I'll talk you through to power down the brick. First, if the brick is attached to a robot, use one hand to hold on to the brick. You are doing this so if the button sequence does not shut down and instead starts running a program, you will be in control and the robot won't get away from you. So our first step is to press the back button, and then we'll press the right button, and the final step is to press the center OK button. Now when I press this OK button, you should immediately hear the shutdown sound. That was the shutdown sound. Now if you don't hear that sound immediately, the brick may start running a program. And if it does that, just press the back button again and ask for some help. But by holding on to the brick, if it does start running a program, you are in control and you can get to that back button and abort the program. Now the brick doesn't make any sound when it's completely shut down. Just wait about 30 seconds after you hear that shutdown sound, and then the brick will be off. One last thing on the top is on the bottom there is a color stripe or a braille identifier which tells you which kit the brick belongs to. Whenever you are building a robot, make sure that you match up the kit number of your brick and only use parts from the box system that goes along with that kit. Now let's turn over the brick and look at the bottom. Now in the bottom we also have an identifier for the kit that the brick comes out of. And then on this particular brick we have the rechargeable battery. Now the EV3 brick can run on either 6 AA batteries or a rechargeable battery. All the bricks that we are using in this course have the rechargeable battery installed. The rechargeable battery pack makes the brick slightly larger than if it had the AA battery compartment installed, but it weighs less than if it had the AA batteries. If you are holding the brick so that the LCD screen is on the bottom and facing away from you, you will feel on the left side 2 little button latches. Those you can open only if you need to, for some reason, swap out the rechargeable battery pack or put the AA batteries in instead. But in normal operations you should have no need to open and remove the rechargeable battery pack. The other thing on the bottom are 4 sets of holes. Each set has 3 round holes in them. There's 2 near the back and 2 near the front. And they are separated by a space that is equal to about 1 hole So, or 1M as we say in Lego terms. These holes allow you to connect the brick to your robot. Now let's turn the brick back right side up so the LCD screen is on top and facing away from you. And now tilt it up some so that you've got the back end facing up. There are 4 holes in a row going across the back end. They're kind of square with an additional little notch on the top, more over to the right. These are input ports, and we use them to attach the cables that go to any of the sensors. In a minute, we will see that there are 4 similar holes in the front end. The front end holes are output ports, and we use them only for motors. Always remember that the back end, away from the LCD screen, is for the sensor connections. These holes are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 from left to right, and it's very important that you get the cable that you want to use for a sensor into the correct number hole so that you'll be able to program it. Now let's see how to put a cable into one of these holes. I'm going to get out my box 7. And in box 7, in cubicle 733, which is the cubicle in the bottom right corner, there are 7 of the connector cables, and there's also a USB cable sitting down in this place. The USB cable has a regular USB end on one end and a mini USB end on the other. But the 7 cables, they all have these kind of squarish plugs with a little clip on the end. And just pick one of the cables, it doesn't matter which one, and then put the box aside. Now I happen to pick the 10-inch cable. There are 4 10-inch cables, and then there are 2 that are 14 inches long, and then 1 extra long one that is 20 inches long. When you use these cables, just try to use the shortest one that will reach so you don't have a lot of excess cable going on. Now let's look at the cable. Each end has a plug, and you can feel a little clip coming out. Now you want to be gentle with these clips. You don't want to break them off or tear them off in any way, because if a clip comes off, the cable will not be usable. So to insert a cable, feel where that clip is, and then the clip goes into that little notch that's on the top of the hole. Just line them up and just push it in. And you want to hear that click. And then to remove a cable, gently squeeze the clip towards the cable and then pull the cable out. It should come out easily. You never want to pull in a cable without first squeezing that clip. So just push it in till you hear the click, and then squeeze that clip against the cable to pull it out. There's one more thing on this back end, and that is centered beneath these 4 holes and a little bit down in between the ends of the connectors that are on the bottom. There's a round hole, and that round hole is where you plug the transformer in to charge the rechargeable battery. Now let's look at the right side of the brick. I've got the LCD screen is on the top and it's facing towards my right, and now I can see the right side of the brick. Now both the left side and the right side have the same pattern of holes. There are 5 holes towards the front and 5 holes towards the back, and they form a kind of a corner with a hole, one hole in the center, and then 2 holes horizontally coming out from that and 2 holes vertically coming down from it. And you can feel that both in the front and in the back. And those are just more connection points to use. Now on the right side, in the center, there's a pattern of horizontal slots that forms a circle. This is the speaker. Any sound the brick makes comes out of this speaker, so be careful not to cover it up when building a robot if you plan to have sound. Now let's turn the brick all the way around so that we're looking at the left side, and now the LCD screen is still on the top, but it's facing over to the left. First thing is to notice the same pattern of connecting holes on this side. Now there are 2 other holes on this side. The larger one on the left is a USB host port. Now that USB port is only used to add a Wi-Fi dongle or to connect other EV3 bricks to this brick. It is not used to connect the brick to a PC. We'll see that port that's used for that in a moment. And then a thinner slot going horizontally to the right is an SD card port. You can increase the memory on the brick by adding an SD card in this port. Now finally, let's look at the front. And I'm holding it so that the screen is facing up and away from me. Now here you can again see there are the 4 square holes, kind of similar to what we saw on the back end. And they each have that same kind of notch on the top right. And those are the output ports for the motors. We always use these ports that are near the front of the brick to run the large and the medium motors. Now these ports are labeled with letters, and from the left to the right, it's D comes first, then C, then B, then A. So always remember with the motors that A is the furthest on the right and D is the furthest on the left. It's kind of backwards alphabetical there. I still have my cable out. You can use the cable, the same cables that we used on the other end for sensors, work for motors. So just again push it in till you hear the click, and then squeeze that clip against the cable to pull it out. Now on the far left of those 4 square holes, there's a small hole for the mini USB port. Now this is what's used to connect the brick to the computer. Let's get that cable out. So I'm going to get my box 7 out again. And in box 7, in cubicle 733, which is the same one that we had our cable wires in, we also have our USB cable. So get that out and put box 7 aside. Now that we have our USB cable out, let's look at that for a second. One end is a large rectangle, that's the end that goes into the PC, and the small end is It's a mini USB. It's kind of like a trapezoid, and sometimes it's hard to determine where the longer side is. The longer side kind of has some little ears that stick out a little bit further. So the cable has been marked with a white and then a raised dot to signify that that is the longer side of that trapezoid. And when you put this cable into the brick, that longer side always faces up. So it should just fit in there easily when you have that longer side facing up. Never force that in. If you get it wrong, you can damage the port. So that concludes our little tour of the EV3 Intelligent Brick. If you want to learn more in detail about any of these parts and how they work, you can check out the Lego EV3 User Guide.